Our youth meetings, our youth retreats in Catalina Island. It was a wonderful time. We missed those days, and we're looking forward to hearing the message from God through you, Andrew. Welcome back. Thank you so much. To mention again, Andrew, briefly, he's a life coach. He serves, he's got an amazing job. He serves the homeless population throughout, I think, Orange County, and also he's a wonderful servant at Saint Verena? Saint Abram, sorry.
It's good to be back with everyone here. I know it's kind of crazy outside, cold and raining, but I'm glad that you guys were able to make it. The topic that I want to kind of discuss with you today has something has been on my mind for the past couple of weeks. And this is the best picture I could find online: quenching our thirst. All of us have different needs. All of us have different struggles that we go with every day. So I want to start with this quote that I read a couple of years ago, and I think it describes exactly the state of a lot of us right now. He's saying we're all distracted and in need to find a center point for our lives. And there's no center point except God, and the whole universe revolves around him. So if you don't make God the center of your life, you'll always be distracted and lost. How many of you agree with this statement? All of us are distracted. All of us feel lost. And if I don't realize at any point in my life that God is the center of my life and then everything revolves around him, once I get to that conclusion or this realization, then the next step would be making him the center of my life. So I'm going to show a couple of keywords here, and by the show of hands, every time a keyword comes in, raise your hand if you associate with that feeling or that keyword. So the first thing, how many of you feel that you're lost in your life, whether in your career, your relationship, at school, whatever aspect in your life? How many of you? Show of hands. Allah yanawar. Another one, distracted. How many of you feel distracted? Okay. How many of you feel purposeless? Maybe you had a goal in mind, you had a purpose in life, and you started achieving that purpose, and when you came to that point in life that you've done everything that you've wanted, you felt like, I still feel empty, it's not filling me. Okay. How many of you feel drained? Oh wow, okay. That's very common. How many of you feel hopeless? Could be a job, could be promotion that you've wanted, could be through anything. How many of you feel emotionally exhausted or mentally exhausted or physically exhausted? All of us go through all these feelings at different points and at different stages in our life. And the one common thing between all these keywords is there's no purpose. If I don't have a specific purpose, if I'm not filled, if I don't have that inner voice inside of me telling me, move on, continue, like there's something better ahead, then I'm gonna probably go through all these stages or all these feelings throughout different stages in my lifetime. This is the negative side of life. This is kind of where most of us struggle with. Let's see a different perspective that explains the opposite point of view. Saint Theophan the Recluse, one of the Russian Orthodox fathers, he said, everyone is always seeking. They seek and find something, but after they found it, they cast it aside and start seeking all over again, so that they may once again cast away what they found, so it goes endlessly. How many of you agree with this? I start seeking something, I find it, I'm satisfied, I leave it, I start seeking something else. And then he continues and says, this means that they are seeking the wrong thing, or they could be seeking the wrong thing in the wrong place, and not what they should be seeking, and not where they should be seeking it. Isn't this tangible proof that there is a force in us drawing us away from the earth and earthly sorrows towards heaven? If I keep searching and I find that happiness, and then I feel like, okay, I've achieved everything, and then I'm not satisfied anymore, I take what I think is happiness, and then khalas, like I enjoyed it for the time being and it's not satisfying anymore, then I'm gonna leave it and then I'm gonna start searching for something else. And then it's gonna continue going on and on and on until I find that thing, or maybe that person that quenches the thirst inside of me. This is what he is talking about here. On the other hand, we've seen other people who had that longing and had that desire filled. David in the Old Testament was one of those people, and we've seen it in so many of his writings. He said, "My soul thirsts for you, and also my flesh longs for you in a dry land and a thirsty land where there's no water." He used very specific words like, "My soul thirsts for you." Not just his soul, but my body and my flesh longs for you. I want to be one with you. I want to enjoy my time with you. In a different psalm, he said, "As the deer pants for the water brooks, so pants my soul for you, O God." He used another analogy. And I was reading one of the commentaries about this, like I was like, why did he use a deer? Why didn't he use like any other animal or any other thing? And what I read, what I found was very interesting. In Palestine at the time when David was writing this, the drought used to last like 7 or 8 or maybe 9 months at a time. So what the farmers or what people did at the time, the wells they had, they would block the well so they can use the water they have proportionately. بدل ما يسيبوها, instead of leaving it open anyone, because it's a drought, so they don't have enough water. So the deer would run and run and run for miles looking for water, and every time the deer finds a well, it's closed. And that's why he used the analogy as the deer pants, like it keeps looking for water, because that's water for her or for the deer or for us is the source of life. And that's the example that he's trying to use. Christ is the source of life. So as we are searching, we can keep searching, we can keep going from one place to another, but nothing, and that's the conclusion that we want to get to at the end. But nothing is gonna completely satisfy my soul until I find myself in him. And that's what actually St. Augustine realized after 20-something years in his life. He's done everything that he wanted in his life. He's tried everything possible on earth. And then after he tried everything, and after he encountered Christ, he started writing his own testimonials and he started writing his own reflections. And this is one of the most interesting things that he said. He said, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart remains restless until it rests in you." And I love the word that he used, restless. A lot of us, regardless of our status, regardless of how rich, whatever we have in our bank account, sometimes we go to bed, I have everything I want in life, or I don't. I put my head on the pillow and I can't sleep. I am restless. Even if I've had the most successful day at my job, and even if I had the biggest whatever it is, like, even if I have achieved a lot of great things, but sometimes I just go to bed and I feel restless. There is something missing. There is something not fulfilled inside of me yet. And that's the conclusion again that he has reached after he's tried everything in life, and he realized like nothing makes me happy, nothing makes me completely satisfied except God. And that being said, I don't want you to think like I'm asking you to leave everything that you're doing and go to the desert and like give yourself to God. If that's your calling, then go for it. But that's not what God is asking us to do. What he's asking us to do, which we're going to talk about, is giving our hearts to him. You can live in the world, you can be busy, you can do everything that you're asked to do, that you're called to do, but you still have your heart with God, and you have God inside of you. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and I want you to start thinking about it for the rest of the night and the rest of the week. Who do you thirst for the most, or what do you thirst the most for in your life? You need to be able to answer this question, not now, but it's something that I want you to start thinking about. Because the one thing that you desire the most, you're going to find that you're using everything in your life, your energy, your resources, your money, everything to get to that thing or that person. So start thinking about, I don't want the answer to be God, because I don't know any of you, I don't know your hearts. And I wish the answer is God, but it's not really. And it's not necessarily God at this moment in my life. But I want you to start thinking, what is it that I desire the most? What is it that I look for the most? The second question is, what went wrong in my life that got me to all the feelings that we've discussed at the beginning? Feeling lost, feeling distracted, feeling emotionally or mentally or physically drained, feeling that I have no purpose in life, feeling that I've tried doing a lot of things, but I can't find satisfaction and I can't find happiness. And I was thinking about this, I stumbled upon a verse that made so much sense. In Jeremiah 2:13, Christ was talking to his people, to all of us. And he answered the question, what went wrong in their lives, which is the same thing applies to us today. He said, my people have committed two evils. أول واحد, they've forsaken me, the fountain of living waters. The second thing they did is that they dug themselves their own cisterns, broken cisterns that cannot hold water. The word cistern, because I didn't know what the meaning was, I looked it up. It's a well. It's a well في الأرض. So he's saying my people have done two things, have committed two evils, two wrong things. The first one is that they've known me, they had a relationship with me, but then they decided on their own will, without being forced, to forsake me, to leave me, for whatever reason. Every person had their own reason. And the second thing is, after they have forsaken me, they decided to do their own thing. They thought they could outsmart me. They would dig wells to save water, but the wells could not actually hold water. So the follow-up question is, why, and I want you to answer this, why do our community, our friends, our cousins, our family members, why do people leave or forsake or abandon God? Not the church. Because you can come to church, but your heart في حتة تانية. So, what do you guys think? Why do people leave or abandon God? Mina?
I think for some people it's because they feel that God has left them. So why should I stick around for you if you've left me? And so they feel forsaken first.
Very good. So some people leave God or abandon God because they've had negative experiences, and the conclusion out of these negative experiences is that you don't care about me, so why do I have to care about you? Very good. What else? Why do people from our friends and our community? Yes.
I think just like guilt and shame in general. So like after feeling guilty of something you've done.
Thank you.
Sometimes people leave because they. There we go. Sometimes people feel guilt or shame because of things they've done or like some sins they've committed or their absence of God in their lives. So then it just leads them to feel like, well, if I leave, then I won't feel as embarrassed or I won't feel as guilty.
Very good. The feelings of guilt and shame. And sometimes these feelings could be generated from us as a community. Someone who's different walks in, and how do we treat that person? We judge that person. So they feel like I'm not accepted, and they could feel ashamed of themselves, or when we sin, and so on and so forth. So guilt and shame and different feelings make people leave God or abandon God. What else? Yes, Jonathan.
God just gets replaced by someone or something else.
Very good. God, in a lot of people's minds, God could easily be replaced. I found someone who I can talk to all day, every day, who can answer my questions, who can make me feel happy, or something that I got used to that replaces that feeling of joy or happiness or whatever I used to feel with God. Thank you. Yes.
Maybe like a feeling of restriction, like that your relationship with God is restrictive to other things that seem more fun or more like worldly that you could have if you didn't consistently maintain a relationship with God.
Very good. A lot of us have or grow up in different cultures and different households with a lot of misconceptions about God. If you follow God, then you have to hate everyone else and hate everything else, and you cannot love God. Yes, the Bible has said you cannot serve two masters, but the way that maybe that it was explained to us, or the way that we've seen it, made it feel like everything is so restrictive. You either choose God or the world. You can't do both at the same time. So we grew up with a lot of misconceptions about God. Hello, إيه تاني? What else make people leave or abandon or forsake God? Yes, Cookie.
I don't know if it's right, but I feel like committing to a relationship with God is a lot harder than committing to other things in life.
Mm-hmm.
So it just more of like a comfort zone. I leave God and I go to other easy things.
Very true. Sometimes we think that commitment with God requires so much more effort, so much more energy. I have to do the musts. We see it as a must, like you must do kaza, 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 and I feel like that's too much work to be able to please God. So it's not necessarily, with some people, it's not necessarily the requirement, it's the feeling that I have to do certain tasks to please that unknown person that I haven't really seen or talked to, and then why bother? Because like they're never going to be pleased. And I was just having this conversation with someone, and they were like, we were talking about the idea like when we were kids, when our parents used to tell us, if you don't do this, Baba Yeshua hayz'al minnak. And then we instill fear in the younger generations that this person is sitting there with a stick. The moment I sin, they're going to punish me. Then as I grow up, I'm going to continue sinning because I'm only a human. So I'm going to grow up with the mindset like there's no point of feeling guilty or ashamed because I'm never going to be able to stop sinning. So I don't want to feel that guilt anymore. So I'm going to just abandon that person because it's not working out for me. I'm going to add on what you guys said, and I'm going to start with one of the things. A lot of people leave God because of the misconceptions that we have about him. And there's too many sources for the misconceptions. Some of them were the households that we were raised. Some of them was through the cultures that we were raised, or everything that we've heard back home, whatever it is. And these misconceptions could be, God is high up in heaven and I'm so like down here on earth. He's never going to feel what I feel. He's never going to understand. He's never going to listen. A lot of us pray and we don't feel that our prayer goes anywhere else. So a lot of misconceptions grow through different experiences. Some of us leave God and abandon God because we were forced to come to him. We were forced to go to church. And at a certain age, I feel like no one can force me to do anything anymore. And I've never really created that relationship with him or tasted him in a deeper way. So at one point, like, why do I have to wake up at 6 a.m. on my one day off? I could just sleep in. I could just watch the liturgy online. There's no point because I was being forced. And again, I'm not talking just as a kid. I'm being forced to pray. I'm being forced to read. But there's no point if I don't understand the reason behind it. A lot of people leave God through or because of negative experiences they've had with him. I prayed for one of my friends were sick. I kept praying for healing, and that person ended up passing away. And that became a scar. That became a negative experience with me. Maybe the other person's family was comforted, whatever happened with them. But for me, why didn't you answer my prayer? Why did you take that person away from me? And that became a negative experience, and I could not get myself out of this negative experience. And then one negative experience after the other has affected my relationship with God until I reached the point where like I don't wanna be with that person anymore, because every time I try to trust him, he hurts me. I haven't seen the trust back and forth. Unfortunately, a lot of people abandon God because they get hurt by someone from the church, whether it's a servant or a priest, whether again intentionally or unintentionally. But a lot of us, we as a community have a huge effect on one another, whether in a positive way or in a negative way. And I can bet that all of you have known or know people right now who have left the church because of us. I'm not talking about like as a kid I used to do some certain pranks, whatever I used to do, and I've hurt a lot of people unintentionally, but it has affected them in a very negative way that they have left the church. I feel the most important thing that makes people leave God is expectations. Our unrealistic expectations about God. How many of you agree with this? A lot of us, how do we develop expectations? Out of trust, right? I'm not gonna have any expectations of Ra'id if I've only met him one time in my life. But since I've met Ra'id and I've talked to him and I've traveled with him, I've developed that friendship, then unconsciously, I have certain expectations of him. I expect them in my birthday to call me or text me. I expect May 5th. It's very easy. May 5th. Yani, I expect all of you. May 5th. Eid Miladi is May 5th. Very easy. I'm setting the expectations high right now. And I like Phil's coffee, so if you guys want, no, I'm kidding. But we develop expectations unconsciously or consciously through the friendships and relationships that we have with one another. And the same thing applies in our relationship with God. The more I get to know him, the more I have expectations of him. But unfortunately, sometimes I have unrealistic expectations, meaning that I'm going to pray, you're going to listen to me, and you're going to do exactly what I'm asking you to do in my own timing, in the way that I want it to happen. That's an unrealistic expectation. As much as we want things to happen, as much as I want to know if I should go to this school or travel to this, whatever it is, sometimes our expectations blind us from the reality that God wants us to live in. And it's hard, it's difficult because of the intimacy or the ishra that we develop with him. We start building realistic expectations, but also we also build unrealistic expectations. So it's one thing that I want you to start thinking tonight and the rest of the week. What are the unrealistic expectations that I have from God? Because I promise you, if you look deeper inside of you, you're going to find a lot of unrealistic expectations. Not that he's not faithful, not that he doesn't listen to my prayers, not that he wants the worst for me. It's the exact opposite. He is faithful, he listens, and he responds in his own way and in his own time. And I am no one to stand here and defend him. He could easily defend himself. I'm not trying to defend what God is doing in your life. But I'm saying sometimes it's my own expectations that blinds me from what God is trying to do in my life and what God is trying to do in other people's lives around me. Sometimes these expectations make me leave him or abandon him. And I could not think of any better example than these two. Remember after God led Moses and the people of Israel out of Egypt? Remember what happened? He let them walk through a sea, right? Like one of the biggest miracles in the world, right? What happened the following day? Does anyone know? After they've passed and they've reached the other end, what happened? Mina. They had no food and they had no water. What did they do when they had no food and no water? They complained. They complained to Moses and like, your God is not listening to us. Your God doesn't love us. Your God, and they started complaining. Yabni inta lissa mashi fi bahr. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, you literally walk through a sea. It hasn't happened, and I don't think it's going to happen again. And they've witnessed God. They've witnessed they've witnessed one of the biggest miracles ever. Yet not even 24 hours back after, they started complaining. It doesn't make sense. I'm sure I'm going to ask a lot of questions when I go to heaven. This is one of my top 3 questions. Why did you guys complain? But honestly, we do the same exact thing. We go through a lot of positive experiences in our lives with God, and then probably same day when something bad happens, what do? We complain. Same day, same God, but not same reaction of me. The other person is the prodigal son. He had the freedom, he had the rich, he had everything. And then he decided out of his own will, no one forcing him, that I consciously and willingly choose to leave God, to leave my own father. And that's what I want to talk about the rest. How can our thirst be quenched? So we established that all of us thirst. We have this feeling inside of us. We have this emptiness, void, distraction, all these things that we've talked about. All of us feel that at different stages and at different points in our lives. So I know that nothing from the activities and everything that I've done in my life is able to quench that thirst. So how can I get to the same level that David had? when he prayed and said, my soul longs for you. How can I get there? The first thing and the most important thing is to practice silence. Something that is very foreign, because we're always busy and distracted. We're always running from one class to the other. I finish work, I drive, I make dinner, I play FIFA after I make dinner, I lose, I get annoyed, I go to sleep. And then I'm always busy and distracted all the time. And as long as I am busy and I'm distracted all the time, I have no time to really sit with myself and do some evaluation like what the prodigal son has done. Luke 15:17, the turning point in his life is this. When he came to himself, وَرَجَعَ إِلَى نَفْسُهُ, he came to himself and said, how many of my father's hired servants have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? That was the changing point in his life. This is when he realized, I have this thirst, and I thought that money and everything that I tried could quench that thirst, but I was wrong. Admitting that I'm wrong is very hard. How many of you agree? Admitting that I have done something wrong and I need to change my behavior, my lifestyle, whatever I need, or admitting that I've hurt the other person and I need to apologize is very hard, because I have to put my ego aside and I have to be weak and go to that person, or be weak with myself and acknowledge like I haven't been doing this right. And that's a very hard step, and it's not going to happen on its own. Saint Ambrose of Milan explains what it means when he said he came to himself. I'm going to read it in Arabic, but I tried to translate it in English, but it's not the best translation. But I'm going to read it to you so you can see. بيقول رجوع الإنسان إلى نفسه يحتاج إلى عمل إلهي ينير بصيرة الإنسان الداخلية ليكتشف فقره التام بل وموته، وحينئذ يدرك محبة الله له. فالقديس بطرس رجع إلى نفسه عندما تطلع الرب إليه، فخرج سمعان بطرس خارجا يبكي بمرارة، لكن ليس بدون رجاء. وأما يهوذا فندم مدركا شره، لكنه إذ لم ينظر إلى مخلص العالم مضى وشنق نفسه. But we want to concentrate on the first part. I tried translating it, but I promise it's not the best. Coming back to oneself needs God's mysterious work to eliminate man's inner vision, so he can discover his own poverty, yet alone his own spiritual death, and at the same time realizes God's salvific work and unconditional love. So he's filled with hope once again. St. Peter came back to himself after God looked at him. You guys know where God looked at him? Remember that part? When after he denied him 3 times, he just needed to have this connection with him. So he went out crying bitterly but with hope, while Judas went out crying, recognizing the wrong that he did, but he didn't look up at Christ, therefore he went and he killed himself. But the whole idea is coming back to oneself starts by me acknowledging that I've done something wrong, and then opening the doors so God can come and do his mysterious work. It's not something that I can do on my own, and at the same time, God is not going to force himself on me and tell me, like, I'm going to change your life right now, whether you like it or not. Because that's him taking away my freedom. And he's never going to do that. He's going to keep presenting opportunities, but I have to be the one to sit with myself in silence and recognize what went wrong. What have I been doing wrong? What have been draining my energy? And that's the same thing that Isaiah has said. In returning and rest, you shall be saved. In quietness and confidence shall be your strength. We all know this part of the verse, right? But has anyone read the rest of the verse? He's saying, in returning and rest you shall be saved. In quietness and confidence shall be your strength. But you would not. That's what God was telling his people. You would not sit in silence. You would not sit in quietness. You would not listen to what I've told you. And you said, for we will flee on horses, therefore those who pursue you shall be swift, shall overtake you. Because I offered you the solution to your problems, and I told you, how can I quench your thirst? And I told you, sit with me, and you will be saved. Have your own one-on-one time with me, and you will be strong again. You will be confident again. You will have strength again, but you would not. It's very tough because he's giving us the solution, but he's also telling us, why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you choosing me? Why aren't you following the ways that people have followed? One of the church fathers also said, silence your tongue so your heart can speak. And then silence your heart so God can speak. سكت لسانك ليتكلم قلبك وسكت قلبك ليتكلم الله. But we're always busy. We're always distracted. We want to solve everything. We think we know everything. I'm not going to talk on anyone's behalf. I think I know a lot of the solutions to everything that I'm going through, but I really don't. And until I admit that I don't, I'm not going to change my life. I'm not going to change anything because I always think that I know. I want to try my own way first. And if I fail after the 9th time, maybe I'm going to go to God. But why try 9 times on my own and feel more drained, feel more lost, feel more distracted when I can just go to Him? When I can just silence, silence myself, my soul, quiet my soul, so He can speak, so I can listen to Him more. And this is what happened after the prodigal son did this math equation. After he sat with himself and he did the math, he said, I will rise and go to my father and say to him all these things. He didn't just quiet his soul and do this meditation and realize, oh my God, I've been doing everything wrong. I must be a failure. There's no point. My dad is never going to accept me. He took an action. He said, I will rise now and go. And in all reality, this is repentance. Changing directions, changing perspectives, changing my own priorities, which will lead to changing my life. That's the simplest and easiest way to repent. When we think about repentance, you have to change all your behaviors, change all your actions, everything negative. How? How are you going to change your actions? It starts by changing your mindset, changing your perspective, changing your priorities. Now I realize I'm not spending enough time with God. I need to spend enough time with God, not because I'm forced, because I have a gap and He is the only person who can fulfill that need inside of me. So that means changing my priorities. I'm going to allocate more time in the morning or at night, whatever it is, to spend. That's repentance. That's literally the meaning of repentance. It starts by changing the mindset, which will lead to changing the perspective, priorities, thus changing my life. Imitate those blind men for whose sake the Savior left His home and heritage and came to Jericho. They were sitting in darkness and in the shadow of death when the light shone upon them. For when they learned that it was the Lord who was passing by, they began to cry out and saying, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on us. You too shall have your sight restored if you cry to Him and cast away your filthy garments at His call. The few blind men who were sitting when they heard that Christ was passing, they started yelling. They couldn't even see Him. They didn't even know who He was. But they heard that this guy does miracles. They took an action right away. And if you guys remember the story, the disciples told Him, shut up. He's not going to listen to you. Don't even bother. The Master has no time for you. Why would you pray? Man ta bتصلي, you've been praying for the past 20 years. What has changed in your life? Absolutely nothing. You've been coming to church for the past 30 years. What good has happened in your life? Absolutely nothing. Why continue? That's exactly what the disciples told these blind men. But they did not listen. They said, they went louder and started shouting louder, and that's when Christ came and said, I will heal you. But they took action. That's the meaning of repentance. Taking action after realizing what went wrong in my life. The second thing after I sit in silence and quietness is abide. And I've talked about the same exact point last time I was here. It's so easy to start but not follow through. right? Going to a gym, starting, whatever it is. I mean, the gym is the easiest example. I've been trying to go for the past 15 years. Amana, I promise. For the past 15 years, but I haven't been committed. I could not last more than 3 weeks. I don't know how. I have an issue, but that's my own issue, but I don't know how. But the key to success in anything, not just my spiritual life, is consistency, abiding in Him. Not just starting to feel bad about myself and then going back to my old place. But now I realized something went wrong. I took action. I went to Him. He started making me feel better, started healing me. طب ما تقعد بقى. Just abide. Stay with Him شوية. Abide in me. Just listen how many times He've said the word abide in 3 verses. Abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit, for without me you can do absolutely nothing. I don't know how many ways and how many times he had to say it to make it clear. He could have said it in 1 verse, abide in me and I in you, period. But for 5 or 6 or probably 7 different verses, he kept repeating the same exact thing. And if Christ kept repeating the same exact thing, it means something. It has a huge value to what he's saying. And then he concluded everything in the last statement. If you didn't get anything from what I said earlier, remember, for without me you can do nothing. John 15:5. For without me you can do nothing. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, you will ask what you desire and it shall be done for you. I was having a conversation with a couple of my friends 2 days ago, and we were talking about misconceptions about God. And one of the misconceptions that we have is that we think that, or we believe that Christ has said this part of the verse, you will ask what you desire and it will be done for you. And we justify, I've been praying for a specific thing for the past 3 years and God hasn't listened to me. Therefore, God doesn't care about me. Therefore, why would I care about him? And we take a lot of verses out of context because this verse has been said and repeated in different ways in the New Testament and in the Old Testament. But we take it out of context and say, ask and you shall receive. Okay, but what are the conditions behind it or around it? And that's one of the conditions. He said, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask. But I promise you, if you do the first part, your prayers are going to be different. What you're asking for is going to change. Because you are in him and his words are in you. So the way that you think about life is going to be different. The way that you act in life is going to be different. Your behaviors, your thought process, everything is going to be different. So the way that you ask, it will be different, and therefore your prayers are going to be answered. That's not my words. That's what Christ has said. The deeper meaning of abide, or the true meaning of abide, or the practical way of abiding, is through literally taking Christ inside of me. And that's what Saint Cyril of Alexandria said. He said, the table of the Eucharist is a place for a man's rehabilitation to his previous nature or position, to revive him and give him rest and forgiveness. Look at how many benefits we take through communion. The first benefit is that it rehabilitates our nature. It revives us, it gives us rest and forgiveness. Through communion, Christ enters the life of the believers, ignites their desire towards him, and that's the key word for today's talk, that we want to have that desire for him again, so he can quench the thirst inside of us. So through communion, he ignites that desire. Like a lot of us don't even seek God anymore. I'm not going to say seek him passionately. We just don't seek him anymore. And through communion, he's able to ignite that desire. Even if I haven't prayed for 10 years, he's going to be able to create that desire in me. Heal the sicknesses and the wounds of sinners and rises up those who have fallen. These are just few of the benefits that we get through communion. So imagine the next time you go take communion, take any of these things and pray for it. Just one thing. Help me ignite my desire for you. Help me heal my sicknesses. Raise me up again. Give me forgiveness and rest. Revive me again. Any of these things. He wants to give you all, but just think of one and take it and see the effect that's going to happen in your life. The last thing is be open and flexible. Because God talks in different ways. He taught people through an experience like this. He taught this kid about himself, about how amazing he is. He taught David about how glorious God is through a different experience. So be open to whatever way God is trying to talk to you. You're saying, I'm open, I'm flexible, teach me who you are. Quench my thirst in the way that you think is best for me. Don't be fixated on one thing. God speaks through nature, speaks through people, speaks through Humar. He literally talked, I'm not kidding, he talked through a donkey. مش أنا يعني أنا حمار but he did literally talk through a donkey. So لو اتكلم, if he's done it through one donkey, he can do it again, over and over again. So to recap everything that we've talked about, every person is always seeking something, all of us. And we've established that at the beginning, that most of us feel distracted, drained, emotionally or mentally or physically exhausted, purposeless, pointless. I have no point or no purpose in life. And the way to get back on track, the way to quench that thirst again, is through practicing silence and quietness. I'm not going to see him in the busyness of life. I'm not going to experience him. I'm not going to experience his power, his love and grace in the busyness of life. I just need to take a step back. And when I take that step back, he's going to show me. The second thing is on me to take a step, because he's taken a step. I need to acknowledge that I've been wrong, that I've been doing few things wrong. When I admit, when I become weak in front of him, he's going to do much more. The second thing is abide in him, stay consistent in him. And the third thing and the last thing, be open and flexible to whatever way he speaks. I'm going to close with this saying for St. Ambrose. He said, let your doors stand open to receive him. Unlock your soul to him. Offer him a welcome in your mind, and then you will see the riches of simplicity, the treasures of peace, the joy of grace. Throw wide the gate of your heart. Stand before the sun of the everlasting light. Basically, what he's saying is open up yourself, your mind, your heart. Don't be fixated on one thing. Let him do the work. And I promise you, he's going to do the work. You just need to be open and attentive to whatever way he's trying to speak to you, to whatever way he's trying to work in your life. And when you give him that chance, I promise you, he's going to do something. He's going to do way more than what you're asking him to do. You guys have any questions or anything?
So the second point was to abide in him. So I remember one of the reasons that you said, reasons why people leave God is because they feel forced. So how do we have that consistency with our desire to be close to God without feeling at some point that we're forcing it because we lose that desire. The desire is not consistent.
I'll give you a small example, and Abuna, I'm sure he can answer better than me. How many movies have you seen in your life, like in the theaters? A lot. How many bad movies have you seen out of all the movies? Not the majority, right? شوية منهم. But why did you continue going?
Because I believe in the movies will be good.
Because you've had more positive experiences than the negatives. No one, I hope Mina's not forcing you to go watch movies with him. But you've had your share of negative experiences, but you decide, maybe this movie is going to be good. You would decide out of your own free will because you've had a lot of positive experiences. It's the same thing with God. I've had my share of negative experiences, but I've also had a lot of positive experiences. I choose to look at those positive experiences that makes me desire more positive experiences, deeper experiences with him. That's one way to look at it. I'm not really, yes, I certain points I force myself, but I force myself out of the thirst that I have, not because Abuna is forcing me. I do that to myself because I've tasted something and I want to go back to that. I'm longing for that feeling or that experience that I had with him before. So this is when the forcefulness comes into play, not by someone else, but through me. I don't know if you want to add anything.
Sometimes I think you said it very well, Andrew. But sometimes forcing yourself to do something good still is okay. Even it's a virtue. They call it in Arabic التغصب, or forcing. It is a virtue because sometimes we lose interest or we feel they have other priorities or whatever. So, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, I know that to go to heaven, I have to have a relationship with Him, and in back of my mind, it is something important for me. I want to go to heaven because there's only two choices, whether heaven or hell. There's no middle way. So that's why sometimes, even if I lose interest a little bit or I, have other priorities or whatever, I have to force myself because I know it is very important. It's like sometimes when you're sick and you have to take a medicine that you don't like, but sometimes you force yourself because it is, at the end that is something good for you. It's going to be helpful to you. So even if you feel sometimes that you're forced, but at the end it's for something good, for something that's going to be beneficial. It's never going to hurt you. Being forcing yourself to go to church or to practice any spiritual exercises or like pray or read the Bible is never going to hurt you. Because at the end it is something, even if still forcing, but it's going to be beneficial for you and for your own growth.
Thank you again, Andrew. Thank our loving Father for sending a wonderful message to quench our thirst, and may God help us to abide in that message. Jonathan tonight is going to share the burning question with us.
All right. Hello, everyone. So, to start off the burning question, I'm going to just read a verse. It's a very popular verse, and then ask the question. So this is from Genesis 22:2. Take now your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering. So we all know this, right? We all know what story this is. So the question is, why on earth would God ask Abraham to do such a seemingly horrific act? Right? It's a test of faith. But God already knows Abraham. Why would he still kind of make him go through all that stuff? Now okay, sorry. What are you going to say? All right, I'm just going to say before, because to us right now in the 21st century, it seems like a ridiculous request. But what do we know about what was kind of going on at the time of Abraham? With regards to worshiping God, or hint, gods. What was going on? What was kind of normal back then? Daniel. What kind of sacrifices? Not in this case. What were people sacrificing to their gods back then? No. Come on. It's not animals. Somebody said humans. Yes, that's right. Exactly. They were sacrificing children to their gods. That's kind of a normal thing for the people that were polytheistic at the time, right? So obviously God wanted to kind of make it so that it's culturally normal at the time to sacrifice children, right? That wasn't the crazy part. The crazy part was that God, the lover of mankind, who created man, was the one that asked Abraham to do this. So again, why do you think he did that? Janice.
I think he did it as a symbol of what Christ had to do for us, like a connection in the Old Testament to the New Testament, and how Christ had to give himself for mankind, just to show us like how hard of a thing it was through like Abraham as an example.
That's really good. I was gonna get to that. So there's a type of there's a word for it where it's kind of there's something going on there, right? Kind of what Janice said. Like if something is showing you what's gonna happen in the future, what is that called?
Foreshadowing.
Correct. Foreshadowing. But before we get there, I still kind of want to know, like, what do you guys think was going through Abraham's mind based on what we know, like what him and God were kind of going through at the time, what God was kind of putting Abraham through? What do you think was going in Abraham's mind? Just kind of spitball. There's no like, it's not like rocket science here. Like if somebody said, yo, go sacrifice your kid. Like, and God was asking you, what do you think? Like, do you really believe that, or what? Like, what are you thinking here? Yeah.
Okay. So first thing I think is that it's not like I have 300 kids here. Oh, here's one. And in my old age, and I have, I've been blessed with this. It's not easy to just pop kids in, at this age and everything. So I think this is okay. You have to روح سلم ابنك, okay, and give this up. And after you've been given this huge blessing, now I want you to just get rid of it. So yeah, people say, yeah, test of faith. Okay, we know this message, but deeper than that, it's the sacrifice of love. That is a sacrifice that is beyond any other thing he could give, So it's like if it's
you said sacrifice of love, but if God was so loving, why would he advocate the killing of children in that sense?
Sure. So okay, that's what you think of, right? But he could have told him, okay, you have your son, right? Go kill yourself instead. Mm-hmm. Which one would he do? Would he be more reluctant to give his son or himself? You don't have kids, but let's say you have a son. Okay, I have a son. Okay, whoever. Put yourself in that situation. Would it be easier for you to give yourself or to give the son or daughter that you have? Which would be easier?
I would say myself, right? I want my kids to die.
Right. So so that's the harder thing to do. Okay. Right? If God told him, go, I want you to offer yourself or jump off this cliff or, slit your own, whatever, that is something. But he goes, okay, sure. I love God, whatever, but give your son. Oh, wow. Well, no, let me go instead of him. Let me, I would take, the hit for my son. So, but that's a hard thing to imagine, right? Like if it's me, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. But if it's my son or my, then it's like, oh, wow, he's a parent now. So he's like, oh my God, like this is a big ask. This is not something so easy. So then God is asking him to do something that is a real test of love, real test of, it's a test of faith, because do I love myself more? Do I love my, or am I going to listen to, because God gave me this son, Mm-hmm. He's the reason why I'm even able to have this blessing.
Okay.
So, God gives, God.
So, hold on. Do we believe? I mean, do we think Abraham actually believed that he was going to go through with it? Why not? There's a few hints in the story, very subtle hints that indicate that he didn't really think so. Yes. You. Yeah. Sorry. What's your name? John. John. I like that name. I said,
Like the first original burning question.
oh, why would God ask Abraham to sacrifice his son?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, we're asking. So now we're trying to figure out, why do we think Abraham didn't actually believe that he was going to actually kill his son? John.
It's a great question. I think I have an answer. It could be right in my perspective. So back before the kid himself, God told Abraham that I don't know the right word in the Bible, but he said, "Ana tirsun lak." At the point, Abraham replied back to him. He said, "And this is pointless for me. I'm moving without a kid. ماذا تعطيني وأنا ماضٍ عقيم." I feel God at that point, he got, I don't know the right word to use it, but he's like, "Oh, I should be satisfying more for you than you have that desire." So I feel God know that Abraham is attached more or has more desire to having a kid rather than his connection or his relation with God. In the story of Abraham, after a few years, God didn't show up to Abraham like he used to. It's like God is like feeling sad, or he doesn't. I don't know the right word, but he didn't used to show up to him like before and all of that. So after a few years, once he come back to him, he asked him that question of, "Oh, you have to kill your son," and all of that. Because I think God is testing Abraham after that time, if he changed or he's still attached to God, or he's attached more to his son. The second part of the question you mentioned, that is Abraham knows that he will go through this. I think God knows that Abraham will go through it because simply his wife has a dead ovary, and at 90 or 100 years old, if I'm not mistaken, and she's still able to deliver a baby. So out of this, there is a newborn. So I feel that even if something happened to Isaac, God will find a way to put him back on life.
Right, that last part was very good. Because what else did God say to Abraham before? He made a promise to Abraham before that happened. Yes. Right, say it. Right, he said, and this is Hebrews 11:17-9, "In Isaac your seed shall be called." And he said that beforehand. So that was already something that was kind of in the back of his mind, knowing, like, okay, maybe, I'm just going to go through the motions, but, like, I know in my heart God's not going to actually, like, make me kill my kid. And there's another verse from Deuteronomy that proves that, and it's Deuteronomy 12:31. "You shall not worship the Lord your God in that way, for every abomination to the Lord which he hates they have done to their gods, for they burn even their sons and daughters in the fire to their gods." So that's one kind of indication that we know that God wasn't going to actually make Abraham go through it. But what else? There's something that he said to his servants that was like a dead indication that he knew he wasn't going to kill his son. What did he say? Rod. All right. He said,
I heard Abuna Dawood say once that Abraham believed that God can raise Isaac back again from the dead.
yes.
And that is a symbol to us that Christ, just like Isaac was a symbol of Christ, that he can be raised from the dead again. Also, as you guys mentioned, like Abraham received the promise that Isaac will be his son, and that he will have kids from or Isaac will be his kid and his family. Also, that he told his two servants that they will come back from the mountain. He told them,
Bingo.
Wait. Yeah.
Right there. He said, "We stay here with the donkey. We will go up, and we will return." He said that with conviction. So,
Even Jonathan, remember when his son, when Isaac, when he said to him, well, "Here's the fire, and where?" And he said, "Here is the wood, and here is." But he said, "Well, where is the knife, and where's the calf?
where's the sacrifice?
And Abraham responded,
God will provide it.
God will provide.
Right. Okay. So now I'm good. I'm glad we got that. You know, we've answered that question. You know, we know that Abraham really, know that in his heart God wasn't going to ask him to do that. So now it asks us the question: why would God test his faith in this way if God already knows his faith? If he wasn't doing it for God, who was he trying to prove Abraham's faith to? No.
I think it's a familiar case with like Ayub.
Who?
The us to come, like the next generation.
Yes, the world, everybody, right? Here it says, St. Augustine said, Abraham has been tested by offering his beloved son to proclaim his piety of obedience not to God, but to the world. He's not proving his faith to God. God wants to use him as an example of the ultimate faith so that we can follow his example. That is why God had him do that, because it's God. Like, I know what you're gonna do, man. Like, I'm God, not me. But so okay, and then to wrap it up, we're gonna go back to that point Janice made earlier about the foreshadowing, right? So what kind of elements foreshadow kind of exactly Christ? We just real quickly list them off. What elements of the Abraham and Isaac story foreshadow exactly Christ being crucified and the story of Christ? Carried the wood. Good. Just like Christ carried his wood. Next. Going up the mountain, Golgotha. Yes. What else is like really important? Right. How many sons did Abraham have? How many sons did God send? Right. His only begotten son. And he went and sacrificed. So that's all I have. Does anybody want to add anything before I hand it off?
That's a great question.
We all good? We like it? We're okay?
Thank you.
Sweet. Oh, also, before I go, I'm really trying to like recruit Burning Question Squad, like not just me, so you guys don't have to sit here and listen to me every Tuesday. And I kind of want to break too, so answer some burning questions. So please, if you're interested in submitting a burning question, let me know, and I'll add you to the BQ squad, and we can set up a schedule. Because I really need a team. I can't keep doing this on my own. So thanks, guys. See y'all not next week.
قول لنا حاجة.